Yeah, so just relax. Let your attention settle on your breath. If you can notice any tightness around your face, invite it to relax. Or in your shoulders. Relax your arms and your hands. Relax your belly. And your legs and your feet. Settling in, relaxing body, and then noticing any pleasant feeling that might be arising in the body just from that awareness, mindfulness, and also from just letting go, letting the muscles relax. By putting our attention on the body, we naturally move our awareness from outside to inside, settling in internally, aware of the body breathing. And breathe in, and you can imagine all of the energy coming in with that breath, just spilling through the entire body. The fresh air, the oxygen coming in and filling the whole body with breath energy. And as we breathe out, then letting go of our tension in the body, but also any tension we have in the mind. Letting go of thoughts, mental activity, inviting the mind to become quiet, calm, peaceful, relaxed. Notice the level of alertness that you have, awareness, just being present with that, and then it feels right to really see if you can boost it and sharpen it a bit merely by thinking about that. No, that's not quite right. Not thinking, but merely by that suggestion coming into your awareness. It's brightening the mind. Enjoying this feeling of stillness and relaxation. The mind becomes dull, give it another encouraging boost of energy. Sometimes it's useful to imagine the breath starting at the base of the spine and bringing energy all the way up the back. And it can come up over the shoulders and flow down the arms or flow down the front of the body. In these last few moments of meditation, we can bring to mind those we would like to share the blessings with of our practice. One long-term community member has been Mary Nell. She's in recovery from having a pacemaker implanted, and she's in a rehab center now. And others who are ill or have lost loved ones that we know, sharing the blessings for peace and relief from suffering.
Yes. Thank you.
So, should we just check in a minute? Um, Amber, maybe we do stop the recording and have a check-in and start a second one. It's interested. We're starting with section number 8, the thousands. And if you're in this Dhammapada book, it's page 45. It's verse 100, so it ought to be possible to find it.
Are there more books?
Oh yeah, sorry, Sophie.
I didn't read that.
Let's see. Here we go.
He needs one too.
And let me see. We've got 2 kinds, and let me see if I have any of that one left. We've got this kind. Yep, that's what we. So
Okay.
they're the same. They're the same translator. The one that has the multicolored cover is has Pali also, and it was put together and actually published. The other one was free distribution. The brown one, same, like I said, same translator, Venerable Buddha Rakita. It's considered the best translation by a lot of people that I know.
Who is Venerable Buddha Ratina?
Buddha Rakita?
Not Ratika.
I don't know. I don't know how long ago either. But what I do know is various monks will talk about how accurate the translation is, so I trust their judgment on that. And you can also find this version or this translation on suttacentral.net. And the one that's been republished here, let's see, who's the publisher? Pariyatti. They've cleaned it up a little bit, so we'll see slight variations, but nothing significant. And it has the Pali with it, which may or may not be of interest to you. Okay, so this section called the thousands. Better than 1,000 meaningless words is one meaningful word, hearing which one attains peace. So what word would that be? The meaningful word by which you attain peace.
Anicca.
Maybe anicca. I think it's the right timing, the right comma, the right moment. It certainly increases our chances to be listening to Dhamma and discussions of Dhamma rather than the whole many other kind of words we find in the world, right? I think we can relate to this. We probably hear a lot of meaningless words. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes the problem is that the words might have meaning, but the meaning is bad, which makes them, I think, meaningless in this context.
Right.
Meaningless for the awakening of the mind or the peace of the heart. And I don't know really if it means like the ultimate peace, the realization of nibbana, but maybe words that bring peace, relative peace, are also better than 1,000 meaningless words. Better than 1,000 meaningless verses is one meaningful verse, hearing which one attains peace. Do you have a meaningful verse? One meaningful verse that you like? Does the word verse trigger anything for you?
The final verse of the Metta Sutta
Yeah.
and the power of that.
What does it say?
Can you share it?
It's like I can hear it, but I can't find the words to say it. It's something like
Something about
having realized this, I will not be born again in this world. Letting go of fixed views.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I keep meaning to memorize it.
Let's see. Let's see if we can come back to without holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, the one I have on my fridge is the one that goes through all what dukkha is. This is dukkha, that is dukkha. I just find it so helpful when I am tightening up to remind myself, oh, right, this is dukkha.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're an Ajahn Sumedho fan, maybe what comes up is it's like this. Any other meaningful verses?
Yeah, I like the last part of the morning chanting. Sabbe Sankara Anicca.
Sabbe Dhamma Anatta.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you translate that?
Yeah. Do you want to translate that?
All conditioned things are impermanent, and all conditioned things have no self.
Conditioned and unconditioned.
And unconditioned. That's right.
So when it says Sabbe Dhamma Anatta, in that case, Dhamma or Dhammas actually is all things. All things conditioned and unconditioned have no self.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. But those two lines are like so powerful. Probably the most powerful lines in the whole chanting book, I think. Really has if we contemplate that and come to understand it, to really see conventional reality in that way and understand the unconditioned, at least to the degree of the confidence that that is a reality, then we've really come a long way. Very meaningful verse.
I have one.
Okay, Alan.
So with a boundless heart, should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world.
Yeah, beautiful. Also from the Metta Sutta. The Karaniya Metta Sutta is
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah, Lisa.
I'm also concurrently in a class, it's a Buddhist psychology training with Matthew Rensilver, and he said something that is really resonating with me. He said, keep your words close to your heart when you're talking to patients or whatever. And I feel that so strongly. I could just feel it for you. It's almost not the verse. It's like, how close to your heart is it when you say it, and how open is your heart when you hear it? Like, it could be just yes, right? If
Yeah.
it's of course, all of these are beautiful verses, right? But are you ready to absorb it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And are we reciting in a way that's kind of perfunctory? I mean, from years of monastic life, I can tell you there are those pujas where it's just wah, 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 wah. You know, it's like you're not really there. You're kind of on automatic pilot. And of course, even then, I think it continues to settle in somehow. And of course, there are other times when, it's like every time I would get to this one part of the chanting, the tears would start flowing, And yeah, are we making ourselves available to really take in the meaning? And are we making ourselves available when we speak the Dhamma to really have it come from the depths of our being, whatever that is, whatever that means. I think you get it. Yeah, words are kind of tricky, aren't they? Better than reciting 100 meaningless verses is the reciting of one verse of Dhamma, hearing which one attains peace. Back to that difference in reciting. I don't know, what else do you recite? Does your song lyrics play in your mind? Maybe meaningless ones, I don't know. Maybe some of them that really are touching and bring out some aspect of Dhamma, because Dhamma's everywhere, and human beings connect to it, even if they've never heard about the Buddha or any of this, right?
I think I recite old stories that are useless, worse than useless, and old conversation, just a lot of stuff that let it go. It's gone.
Yeah. How many times do we think over and over about some bad point in a conversation or something someone said to us? Have you ever hoped that other people were not repeating what you said at some point in their own minds? It's like, I wouldn't say that again if I could help it,
I feel like there's something important here about it's not like meaningless versus meaningful, but that like the sheer quantity of 100 makes it meaningless. And like the sheer quantity of one implies that it's inherently meaningful. And it actually, I was like thinking a similar thing to what you brought up about working with, I also am a clinician, and how important it is to not talk too much, surely because the less you talk, the more powerful what you say is, because there's less for a client or a listener to retain and to think through. And so being really frugal, and I think it's the same with maybe like studying, being frugal with your studying and not trying to read through or intake a lot of wisdom, but actually to just be very frugal.
Yeah. Yes.
And because I think the hearing one verse, I was like thinking about the reciting of one verse of Dhamma, hearing which one attains peace. And it's like how you can't hear 100 verses. You know, you just sort of, they wash because of the sheer quantity versus one, you're able to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, think of those situations like, I don't know what area of clinical practice you're in, but I just visited my doctor the other day and I love her. She is awesome. I've been seeing her for decades. And it is true that if there is not a lot of instructions or conversation, then you're able to like hone in on the important bits better. They're more memorable and they're more meaningful. Even in something like that you might consider, well, pretty mundane in a sense, but you know, to think about also our own speech and, like you said, being frugal, being mindful, and respecting our own speech. I know there's a lot of room for practice in that. For me, I know too. I'm a talker. And I raised a talker, and I talked to him this morning. And it's lovely. You know, there's so much good in what that exchange is. And it's really good to come back to, you know, like paying attention to our words and valuing them. And remembering that what we say is putting sankharas into other people's heads. Yeah,
I have a
Charles.
question about, and I think that this is following, which
Sophie.
is about most of the time, I just believe what I say,
Uh-huh.
even if I say this might not be true. I actually believe the veracity of what I'm saying. So if that is a verse that I'm speaking, that kind of becomes interesting.
I have noticed this myself, and I don't know anything really about the brain, you know, brain science and all that. But my image is that there's a more primitive part of my brain that believes everything I tell it. It really does seem to believe everything, believes what it hears. So, you know, it's like I really want to tell it things that are true, and I want to filter for it so that it doesn't believe garbage. And if I tell it, you're really a rubbish of a person, you know, whatever, you know, if we say those negative things to ourselves, it really pulls us down. But if we truthfully tell that part of our mind the positive things that are true, it lifts it up. It gives it more energy and more opportunity to improve. Yeah. Is that kind of in the same ballpark? What you're...
Yeah, well, I think it just has to do with, you know, the idea of fixed beliefs.
Okay.
A lot of the times I just feel like I'm just saying the same thing again and again and again and again and again in different environments in different ways. And then I've got this set of verses, and it's like a vaudeville show, a vaudeville act. It always, you know, bada bum, it ends this way, or if you go here, it ends this way. And they're really well established.
Are they true?
Probably not. I don't know if language can be, I don't know what that would mean for language to be true, but I think just looking at it in terms of what the Buddha is saying, the inspiration for me is that, again, this idea of frugality, I think, you know, with self and with others.
But I think you're getting at something that's really important. This idea of like, what are our views?
Yeah.
And how fixed are we on them? And where do they come from? And can we examine them and throw them away if they're not really Dhamma? And what about the Buddha? He obviously said a lot of words, but I never get the feeling that anything he's saying, if someone else walked in, he would change his tune. Or that, he would, even though he might use different similes for different crowds, different people's experience, he might start at a different point because of what he can perceive that they know or don't know. He never changes the story. From the first teaching he gave after his enlightenment to his death, it's the same story. The Dhamma is so consistent.
My sense is that he didn't say anything until he had experienced it and known it as true.
Yes. Well, that was all those years of practice, right? And also enlightenment.
Yeah.
And then there was some time, according to tradition, there was some time after he experienced that awakening before he actually gave cohesive, like really impactful Dhamma talks. Mm-hmm. Not a huge amount of time, but there was some integration, I think, going on in those weeks afterwards.
But did he go out and look for people to talk to, or did they come in to him?
He looked for people. He thought, who can I share this with? And then he first thought of the two teachers he went to learn to practice studying meditation. And they both had died already. And he knew that through the psychic powers that came with his enlightenment. And then he went back to the 5 monks that he had been living with when they were practicing all the austerities. And he had to travel quite a long ways, to walk a long ways to get there. And, so he was, I think everybody probably knows the story. At first he was thinking, this is so subtle. This is so hard to see. Is it worth trying? And, Brahma Sahapati came and begged him to do it. So there are those with little dust in their eyes. So he was looking for people with little dust in their eyes that he could communicate this to. And fortunately, that worked. Yeah, the other day, I was riding in the car with Ayya Chittananda and talking about someone, and I said, I don't think I can help this person. And then my eyes just immediately flashed on this church marquee that said, you never know how much you can do until you try. It was just like that. And I read it, I Chittananda, she said, now you have to try. That had to be a message from the Devas. Okay.
Looks like there's a hand up.
Oh, good. Thank you. Kema.
Hello. I just thought I'd throw this in there. I was reviewing Bhante Gunaratana's Eightfold Path, and he was bringing up the 5 aggregates, which 4 of them are all in the mind, except for form, perception, feelings, consciousness, and volitions. And so those are all anicca, dukkha, anatta. So we have a tendency to solidify things, which is really so bizarre. It's like we just solidify everything. Like my thought is some kind of solid ball bearing going through time now, that just because I thought it or felt it or it's all moving and it's all changing. So, but it doesn't always is. So anyway, when it comes to our own mind, thoughts, all these things that are flowing within our consciousness, they're all, to see it, to apply it to that too. It's not just out there. It's well, it's and that to not rely on it like it's some kind of truth, unless maybe the Dhamma we can, get on the boat to make it to the other shore.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kema. I mean, it's true that this is something Ajahn Sumedho points out a lot. Like all words are also sankharas. So it's like, yes, these two are conventions that come together. We're taught a language. We're not born with a language. There's no sacred language, even though people will try to say Sanskrit or Pali or something is sacred language, but it's still contrived by human beings. So and the imperfections of the way that words point at things, we can never really, like know it until we experience it ourselves. So it's true that while on the one hand, all of these khandas are changing all the time and extremely unreliable, it's still the case that these thoughts that we have, and you said this morning, Kamo, which I really appreciated when it comes to, you were saying kind of you were in a similar area this morning is that we can think, well, none of this stuff is worth attaching to. Buddha said that, there's nothing here in this world worth clinging to. However, our thoughts, our words, and our actions actually matter. And we need to purify or train ourselves that those are leading upwards, not leading downwards, that they're wholesome and helpful to others and not the other way, and so this is it's interesting. We're always working with these kind of two levels, what's happening on the conventional level and how important that is because it creates karma. There are results, there are ramifications, and then the ultimate level of really understanding the emptiness of everything. All right, empty of self.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kamo. Now we're going to have a little shift here. Though one may conquer 1,000 times 1,000 men in battle, yet he indeed is the noblest victor who conquers himself. Yep.
That is worth 1,000 words.
Self-conquest is far better than the conquest of others. Not even a god, an angel, Mara, or Brahma can turn into defeat the victory of such a person who is self-subdued and ever restrained in conduct. So, yeah, self-restraint, restraining the defilements, the impact of the defilements that arise in us, because we all have to deal with that. We wouldn't be human beings without that. We would be somewhere else if we didn't have greed, hatred, and delusion making trouble in here somehow. And so there's that. When we feel aversion, anger, other words for those things that when we let that spill out harms other people. When we turn it internally towards ourselves, it harms ourselves. So there's that. But there's also just, as we're talking about, skills that we can develop, in terms of the way we approach things, the way we speak, the way we act. And wow, there are just some extraordinarily skillful people around, even if they don't know anything about, haven't thought anything about what's Dhamma. And it's beautiful. And it's interesting to see how these situations that we find ourselves in as human beings can bring out those skills, or they can bring out the lack of skill. Like sometimes crises just bring out the noblest of virtues in people, their generosity, their selflessness, their willingness to risk their own lives for others, and wanting to help, share your last bit of food, whatever, that kind of thing can happen. And then the totally opposite, like you have a pandemic and somebody's scheming in the background, how can I make money off of this? It's a really interesting mixture we're in this world, in this life. So there is this ongoing, I don't know if I like the conquering metaphor so much. It doesn't reach my heart the way some others might, but still get the idea. It's really many things that this world glorifies. Like when it occurred to me that most of the statues of human beings are like people who have been victors in battle or war, or yikes. We're still pretty tribal, aren't we? and can we really raise up other abilities? And many people are doing. Anyhow, those are just some random thoughts, pretty random. Anything else? Kayla, I don't think you have your hand up again, or do you? Or should I? No, probably not. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Any thoughts about this one? These 2, 3, yeah, Allison?
Well, I'm just looking at the second part, which says, not even a god, an angel, Mara, Brahma, can turn into defeat. So once you've reached a certain level, there's no shaking it. There's no, even the most powerful beings cannot change it.
That's right. Isn't that reassuring?
Yeah, it's very powerful, very empowering.
Yeah, and those things that we come to know for sure for ourselves that are Dhamma, there's just no going back. Thank goodness. And nobody can take that away from us. No matter what they do to the body, that still goes with us. It's beautiful. Oh, another turn. Okay. Though month after month for 100 years one should offer sacrifices by the thousands, yet if only for a moment one should worship those of developed mind, that worship is indeed better than a century of sacrifice. What do you make of that?
It reminds me of what you've said from time to time about when you visit an enlightened bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, that I forgot, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, just that one moment of I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, but I think like you're with someone who's really understands the whole path, and in a lot of cases have the psychic power to really see what's happening in you and to recognize that that's such a powerful opportunity. And then to, know that so much of the rest of what we do with our time is pretty inconsequential by comparison, let's say. And here, I think this idea of making merit, sacrificing, I'm sure this is related to the religious mores of the time where they did a lot of animal sacrifices, and the Buddha was very much opposed to that, and he talked about it frequently, that maybe a very wealthy person would want to put on this big sacrifice. There'd be many, many, sheep and goats and cows and, being killed for this. Supposed to be some great merit-making event. And the Buddha said, your servants are crying with tearful faces as they have to do all this killing because you're forcing them to do this. And then, there's all this basically violence behind this. This is not the way to do something good, so that's one kind of sacrifice. But just any kind of giving in order to get something back is really a kind of a ruining of the effort. Once when I went to see the Dalai Lama, he was speaking at the San Jose Convention Center, and there were thousands of people there. And he said, if I have the thought of gaining anything from this, I ruin it. This transmission of the Dhamma, if I think I'm going to get something from this, so it really emphasizes that really open giving. If we're going to give, if we're going to do something, to really, even if the thought comes up in the mind that, oh, maybe someone will notice something, or I'll get, some way, then you say no. You don't have to believe your thoughts. Back to that, we don't have to believe our thoughts. Most of the time, it's not that great quality. You can say no to thoughts. Feelings we need to turn towards and work with. But thoughts, the Buddha said, he put his thoughts into two categories. The ones that were, about renunciation and non-cruelty and non-ill will, and the ones that were related to sensual desire, ill will, and cruelty. And what does that say? If you can have a thought that comes into you, can't control what comes into your mind, but you can evaluate it and go, no, no. Okay, yes.
I think I know what I was going to say. That if you revere the upright ones, for that moment that you see the purity and the freedom, you're in that place.
Yeah.
You recognize it.
Well, and it's possible. This is so powerful.
Yeah.
You realize, like, whoa, there are people. So one time, someone who had been coming for quite a while to teachings, and I think we were talking about going to Thailand, and this person was like, are there enlightened people nowadays? It's like, yes. This is very important to realize. This is possible for us. Yeah. Yes, so that beautiful kind of can you imagine some of the stories in the suttas about seeing the Buddha? There's this one where this nun, she was a nun in another group. So she, was already practicing a lot of renunciation, and she saw the Buddha, and she went and she just bowed down, and he called her forward. And actually, that was her ordination. come Bhikkhuni. And just the expression of sometimes the monastics who joined him, let me try to say, wasn't just monastics, but lay people too. Sometimes when people saw the Buddha, they were just filled with that, I don't know, power, joy, goodness, being in that place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read that book about Deepama, and it gives me that same sense that if you're in her presence, like she had it, and
yeah,
it's amazing. I think it's letting go of all the tethers, because a couple of weeks ago I had like a heart flutter, and I thought, what if I die? And then would that be okay? Yeah, that'd be fine. And just like that, like all the tethers fell away.
Oh, nice.
And I realized, well, can I let the tethers fall away but not die? And where am I if I do that? And it's like all of a sudden, all you have is presence, real presence, and nothing pulling on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that moment.
I'm remembering.
Reflect on it frequently.
I'm doing that.
Good. Though for 100 years one should tend the sacrificial fire in the forest. Do you ever have a feeling you've done that? Yeah. Yet, if only for one moment, should worship those of developed mind, that worship is indeed better than a century of sacrifice. Whatever gifts and oblations one seeking merit might offer in this world for a whole year, all that is not worth 1/4 of the merit gained by revering the upright ones, which is truly excellent. So again, I just feel like meeting people who are really living the Dhamma is so powerful. Really valuable.
Are they using the word punya there for merit?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see it in the second line at the end.
Yeah, I don't have that one. So.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's punya peko. Yep. To one ever eager to revere and serve the elders, these 4 blessings accrue: long life and beauty, happiness, and power. This is part of the blessing chants that we do. Yeah, Ariane?
I actually had a question on the previous one.
Uh-huh.
When they say upright ones, what exactly is that referring to? Do they mean like arahants? Do they mean noble disciples? Do they mean like anyone who's virtuous?
Yeah, I think that they're probably referring to the noble, the somewhere on the 8 levels of enlightenment, awakening path, like you do in the reverence to the Sangha and the chanting. They use that same word for upright, uju. Uju, straight up, really following the Dhamma. But they're probably on that, 8 noble persons kind of scale, I would say.
In the recollection of the Sangha.
Yeah. I think that's probably what this is referring to.
Right. I had a similar question too. Like, I don't see the word Sangha in here, but like, is one to infer that the upright one, like taking refuge in the Sangha?
I think so. The enlightened Sangha. So they're definitely talking about the the upright ones, revering, and yeah, it's the same kind of language, so that's what I would say.
So I have a question about this one. So when I see, 4 blessings for the long life and beauty, happiness, and power,
those words, long life and beauty, happiness and power, that's sort of seems almost like something I would see in a fortune cookie.
I know, it seems so worldly.
Yeah, it seems worldly or materialistic.
I know.
So it's like, what?
Yeah, yeah. It's like this is at the end of this one blessing chant that we do for the mealtime all the time. It's very traditional. And some people will say what it means is spiritual power. So I think if you do like think of this in the context of spiritual qualities.
And I guess spiritual beauty.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so.
Doesn't it say in the Dharma that if you're a practitioner, your complexion, and it's not this, it's like
there's a glow.
There's a glow.
There's a glow.
Yeah, it's not like you don't have zip.
Like inward beauty, inner beauty, radiating.
Inner beauty, yeah. I mean, it's true. There's this. You might have heard of this Dhamma, this sutta, where Nakula Pita. So there is this couple in the suttas, Nakula Mata and Nakula Pita. It's like their name is Nakula, and Mata is mother, and Pita is father. So mother and father Nakula. They show up a lot. They're the ones who went to the Buddha and they said, you know, we've been married for a really long time, ever since we were really young, and we've never transgressed against the other, not even in thought. And we'd like to remain in one another's sight through the rest of this life and in the life to come. How can we do that? And the Buddha said, well, if that's what you want, then you need to be the same in faith, the same in virtue, the same in generosity, and the same in wisdom. And then you're most likely going to be together again in the next life. And so that's a beautiful teaching, you know, I think. And then there's this sutta where Nakula Pita he's really old now. And he hasn't gone to see the Buddha in a long time. And then he's coming with a cane and he's really old and he comes to the Buddha and he says, I'm, you know, here I am, I'm coming here on my own. It's been a long time. This body is so frail. And the Buddha said, yes, indeed. If anyone refers to the body as healthy, they're like crazy. You know, they think that would really be foolish. And I don't think he just meant Nakula Pita's body, you know. And he gave Nakula Pita a teaching. He said, but even though the body is ailing, make sure the mind is not ailing. And Nakula Pita goes away and he's just so radiant. But he sees Venerable Sariputta and he said, Venerable Sariputta says, Nakula Pita, you're radiant. Have you just been getting Dhamma from the Buddha? And he's like, yeah. And he says, well, what did he say? And then Nakula Pita repeats it. And he says, but did you ask the Buddha how you do that? And he's like, I'd like to hear you tell me how to do it. And so Venerable Sariputta talks about how to do it. And my recollection is it's really like, even though the body is suffering, don't let the mind go down. You can keep the mind on the Dhamma. So it'd be great to find that right now and tell you exactly how it goes, but it's just beautiful. And it shows that kind of complexion thing, you know, where there is this radiance that can come. So yeah, maybe it needs that.
It is good karma. I mean, good karma does have material outcomes.
Yeah.
If not in this life, maybe in the next life. So I personally am okay with taking it literally.
You don't mind being blessed with long life and beauty and happiness.
It's nice icing on the cake. Yeah.
But that happiness is that inner happiness that years ago you finally clarified for me that, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm so happy. It's not that happiness.
If I could share another translation, you know, but
oh yeah, go for it.
So it's of course, you know, blessings accrue, long life, beauty, happiness, and power. And Glenn Wallace, who I enjoy, he says these four qualities increase lifespan, appearance, happiness, and strength.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the power is bala, I think. Yeah. So that can be strength.
Yeah. So instead of,
power, it's a power,
appearance,
but
it isn't always beauty. Sometimes they say, well, but he has this, this look, this or admirable, whatever quality.
fun. Yeah. Thank you. Better it is to live one day virtuous and meditative than to live 100 years immoral and uncontrolled. You don't know anyone who's immoral and uncontrolled. I mean,
I'm living for too long. I didn't say.
That sums up the world pretty well, doesn't it?
there's a lot of that going on, I guess.
But there's a lot of really good, I mean, billions of people.
Billions
well,
of good people
wishing us well.
who are living virtuous and meditative.
Mm-hmm.
And one day's worth is way, well, of course. I mean, I read this and I went, yeah, of course. And then when you live many days and many months and many years virtuous and meditative, yeah. So, better it is to live one day wise and meditative than to live 100 years foolish and uncontrolled. Yeah. Yeah. And what's great is I have had the foolish and uncontrolled years. Ooh. And the wise and meditative days and years really help to balance that, to soften that, to help you recover from that. It's a good thing to remember that we can recover from our foolishness. Better it is to live one day strenuous and resolute than to live 100 years sluggish and dissipated.
I like that he just says one day.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, okay, I'm already done then. Right? It's like that was my day of resolute, upright.
Well, it's better than.
Don't need to worry about it anymore.
I think that means live one day, then you die.
That's more than zero.
Yeah, you don't want to just be better than 100 years of sluggish and dissipated, do you? Yeah, one day.
That -1.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
These numbers are meant to be metaphorical, I assume.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, when you live that one day, at least well, this is a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have a choice.
That'll keep you going.
Right.
Yes.
I don't want to do that other one. I know what that other's like. It sucks.
It's like the precepts, like, why would I want to do false speech, and why would I want to do harm, and why? I mean, you just feel like shit when you do that. So yeah.
When we're paying attention, we can realize that. Yeah. Better it is to live this. I love this one. Better it is to live one day seeing the rise and fall of things than to live 100 years without ever seeing the rise and fall of things. Seeing the rise and fall of things is a real landmark moment, actually, and that really becomes a clear realization. That's often the way it's described. The stream entry experience is described in the suttas. The person realizes that everything that arises ceases. And there's oftentimes a powerful image that comes with that, or something that really cuts to the quick.
Yeah, and it's easy to intellectually conceive of that, but I don't know what it feels like to really feel it.
Yeah, we need to continue to reflect on it, and reflect on those three characteristics, and reflect on, how this is true of everything, even those things that we think are so solid. Like, when I was at BCBS teaching about the Vipallasa, this is the the four misunderstandings that we have. We think things are permanent that are impermanent. We think things are bring happiness and they really bring suffering. We think things are self when they're really not self. We think things are beautiful when they're really ugly, actually ugly. And so I had photographs showing that contrast. So for impermanence, I found 2 photographs of Mount St. Helens, one before and one after. It's like, we feel like mountains are pretty solid. I mean, it's a good image, and to recognize that impermanence in everything that comes into being as a conditioned thing, those conditions change and it goes away again. It's really powerful.
So are mountains and stuff also conditioned? I thought that had to do with our consciousness, but can you say more about what conditioned means?
Every material thing is changing and going to fall apart.
But can you say more about what the word conditioned means?
Conditioned means that there are causes, there are certain conditions that need to be in place in order for this thing to come into being. So a mountain comes into being. It takes a long time, or it takes whatever, maybe it doesn't take a long time. I guess it's a volcano, who knows? But the reality is, it's a long time ago. The mountains we see, it's not like, you take a drive out in the country and suddenly there's a mountain where there wasn't a mountain before. I haven't really experienced that these days. But, the fact is that there were causes for that to happen. There are causes for your body to come into existence. We know that's going to go out of existence. And it's true of absolutely everything. Everything you can lay your eyes on. Everything you hear, see, taste, touch, smell. Everything we think. That's what it means when we use the word sankhara in a general sense. It's referring to conditionality. It's referring to all conditioned things. And they're all impermanent and they're all unstable, because it's not just like they come into existence and they remain just that way the whole time and then suddenly the conditions change and then it's gone. It's always changing. It's aging. It's deteriorating. You buy a new car, how long does it take to deteriorate? Depends on what company you chose, I guess. Toyota's doing pretty good, but it's still not going to last forever. It's like that, it's like if we reflect on that reality for everything, we start to get that sense. And then at some point, we've got to employ the whole of the Noble Eightfold Path. So we need a certain level of samadhi. We need to do that repeatedly. We need to have the moral virtue. We need to continue to refine our view to make sure it's right view, right intention. But then at some point it really hits, like something drops into place.
So I was just thinking about the aspect of conditioning that, like even the word mountain, like you say mountain, is a condition. Like I have this vision of a mountain in my head, and it's completely arbitrary, it's based on, like you said, language. And that sometimes, like, this is really inspiring to think about, just one day. Not that I think that's enough, but that sometimes it feels really daunting to like there's so many layers of conditioning. Like even just like using a simple word, and that I was at a retreat recently and I was looking at something and that I had this flash of like, I didn't even realize I thought that. And then it became really clear, and I realized it wasn't true at all. But it's just sort of daunting how complex conditioning is sometimes.
Yes. And when we start to see that it all carries these same qualities, it's all impermanent, every bit of it. The processes can seem really complex. When I think of the human body, what an interesting, complicated, and delicate, and tough, and all, it's amazing that it works, mostly.
Yeah.
And that it's going to deteriorate. it's going to fall apart. It is falling apart. It started deteriorating. Someone said, like, when does it start deteriorating?
When you're born.
When you're born, when you're 20, when you're whatever, when you stop growing, then it goes the other way. I don't know.
I
But,
see what you're saying.
you know, when the replication of cells is
Yeah.
less than the dying off of the cells or some such thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And then just the other day, I said this morning too, this fascinates me. When the bhikkhunis, we had the katina last Sunday, and we had 5 of us, 5 bhikkhunis and a bhikkhu. And the 5 bhikkhunis went back to the hermitage to sow the robe. And we had a really wonderful time. And also 2 of them had been, the Pasadi bhikkhunis, Ayasujana and Ayya had been with us for, I don't know, since like Tuesday or Wednesday, and then they stayed until they stayed a whole week in total. And Ayasanta Chitta stayed for a few days too in the middle. And with the Pasadi Vihara Bhikkhunis, we were talking about their advanced directives, and they want to get composted. They want the body composted, and they're talking about this composting process. I'm on board with this. I haven't changed my advanced directives yet.
How did you assign that? How do you?
Oh, they're around. There
They're
are 3
fun.
places in California
Really?
now.
Mushrooms legal in California now?
Hmm?
Yeah, it's mushroom farms. At least that's the ones that I'm connected to. Yeah.
Okay.
They can
Yeah,
be
there's.
buried in the mushroom.
They live in Olympia, which is kind of where it started. I mean, there's this place there on the Olympia Olympic Peninsula. Anyway, Ayasui Chana was saying, yeah, I thought that, you know, they take the body, they wrap it in something, and they add all these, you know, things to the soil. They add stuff in, and then she thought that the whole thing heats up, and she thought they had to do something to heat it up. And then she learned that you don't have to do anything to heat it up, because the microbiome in your gut, which is actually controlling a lot more about us than we think, is actually where it starts to devour the body. And that's what heats up it. The process heats it up. Like if you've ever had a compost pile, it gets so hot, right? This is happening just naturally. It's like you don't have to burn anything. You don't have to like use any fuel, any kind of, no pollution. It just naturally composts.
Yeah, when my dad died, I got there like 20 minutes after he died, and I got in bed with him, and I put my hand on his belly, and he was still a little bit warm, but he was cooling over the next hour or so. His belly remained hot the whole time. It was amazing. Yeah.
A lot going on in there.
Yeah. So it's still, so we think about people dying, but there's so much of us that is alive.
Well, and it's not us.
Right. It's not
Not
us.
at all. Not at all us. It's other organisms.
Yeah.
It's a really creepy thing to think about.
It's really great.
And they're helping us most of all.
That's
Some of
the
the
whole
time.
not self thing. It's like, come on, get
I know.
here.
So we're thinking about having a let's write your advanced directives party at some point. We'll see. Better it is to live one day seeing the rise and fall of things than to live 100 years without ever seeing the rise and fall of things. That is for sure. Better to live one day seeing the deathless than to live 100 years without ever seeing the deathless.
What does that mean?
Well, Nibbana.
No self, what you were just saying.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
big part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That which is not born, the unborn,
That moment of
unconditioned,
that little bit of
that doesn't, no, it's not a moment. It's the ultimate reality.
right. But just
It's
having a
timeless.
glimpse of it, having a
You have a
glimpse
glimpse of
then
it
you know
in the
okay.
beginning. And then it becomes the way of life or the complete understanding. And then the last verse in this section, better it is to live one day seeing the supreme truth than to live 100 years without ever seeing the supreme truth. Yep. Yeah. I think that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. I had this energy flow through me when I read that 114. Better it is to live one day seeing the deathless than to live 100 years without ever seeing the deathless. Yeah.
What's the difference between the deathless and the supreme truth?
Well, the supreme truth is the Dhamma. And it's a good question. You know, you have someone like Ajahn Sumedho, and he's using these words interchangeably. Basically, any word that we use to point at what is unconditioned is going to be a synonym. So the deathless, the Dhamma, he also uses sati, mindfulness, consciousness, vijnana, and obviously that word gets used in various ways in the suttas. It's not all talking about an unchanging, timeless,
Uncreated.
Unborn.
It's all those, you know, that list of, I don't know, 20 something descriptions of Nibbana.
Yeah, if you've seen the book called The Islands by Ajahn Pasano and Ajahn Amaro, they collected all of the words that are used to refer to Nibbana. Yeah, and we can't articulate it no matter how many words we come up with. That's just something we have to know ourselves directly. And my experience is that it doesn't happen through ordinary consciousness. There needs to be an altered, you have to be able to see beyond this conventional reality.
What do you mean by that? Ordinary consciousness?
What do you mean by that? Yes.
Yeah. You just slip that one by.
Slip that one right in there?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just tell you about an experience I had. I was in an altered state of consciousness. Now, that sounds like I was doing drugs. I was not doing drugs. But it's a meditative state. It's a meditative state. And in that meditative state, I realized that time is a mere convention, that everything is happening now. And I knew it. I saw it clearly. And then when I came back to what I would say ordinary consciousness, like just operating normally in the world, you know, I couldn't make sense of that. But I know it's true. And when they talk about the Dhamma being timeless, it's not just that it's the same no matter what time period we're talking about it. It's that time really is made up. It really is just a convention. It's a device that we use to keep things straight. We can't see how to operate without it in this conventional world. It's kind of a requirement here. And time is all about dying. It's all about death. It's all about the expiration. All of this changing material. But when the realization is not changing, nothing changing, it's outside of time. It's not eternal. The Buddha said, this is not about something eternal. And it's not about annihilation. It's not like we end and then there's whatever. It's not like we keep going forever. It's neither of those things. How do you make sense of that with our ordinary consciousness? operating in this conventional reality. Why do we need meditation? It's not just to be calm. It's not just to be at peace. It's not just to be happier. It's to really see the truth. Why do we practice virtuous behavior? Because if we don't, we can't even get on square one with this. Why do we have to look at right intention and right view? It's because if we don't have right view, we don't even know how to see things. We won't even look, we won't even spend our time in the right ways, in the right places. We'll be off proliferating about garbage. So the whole Noble Eightfold Path is essential. And those first three Noble Truths are essential in order to practice with our experience in a way that we can see reality.
When you say, how do you make sense of that? It sounds like you have this knowledge, this wisdom, but is it that you can't?
It's more like you have the
technically explain
insight. You have the insight, but it's not logical.
Okay.
It's beyond reasoning. So the Buddha said, you're never going to get this by reasoning. Ajahn Chah is like, you're never going to get this if you take your books into meditation. You're never going to get it. It's not going to be like it's written in the books.
Matthew says that too. You will not be able to think your way into this.
That's right. But we keep trying that. We keep believing our feelings, and we keep believing our thoughts, and we keep spinning around in the stories. I've been thinking about how much we love stories. And every time, oh, did someone answer my text? It's good. You're going back to another story. It's a storyline. Everything's a storyline.
But I've been thinking about why do our brains think? And the ability to think has a strong analgesic quality. So we can really, our thoughts really can dampen pain, can stimulate satisfaction. So it just makes
do all kinds of harm to our thoughts can, it's really an interesting, and we do use that. We need that mechanism. It's not like it's this way of thinking and talking about things. This is not about condemning our normal processes. We do need that. And using our, like if we happen to be someone who thinks a lot, we need to use that to reflect. We have to go beyond reasoning though, but we still use the thinking mind for this purpose of.
I think we also need to pay attention to when is our thinking kind of numbing us. Pay attention to that.
We do. We have to pay attention to the states of mind.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple of hands up. Kema?
Hello. I wanted to share this unconditioned little short video Ajahn Brahm had. I just saw recently, and it maybe some of you have seen it. Anyway, I'm not going to say the whole thing, but it's a parable of like 5 boys that have wishes, and I'll just go to the last one. And he goes, it's a little story about each one, and the best wish was the last one, who was so content that he didn't need any more wishes, and so there's all these things that he goes through. The other ones are really smart wishes and all, and then anyway, like maybe the third wishing for 3 more wishes, and anyway, finally the one was I wish to be so content that I don't have any more wishes. I don't and it's like an image of nibbana, the unconditioned or non-attachment, and it's not with the mind, it's in the heart. And how do you even explain that? It's like,
yeah.
so
I actually think that explanation is pretty pretty accessible to us. I've heard this story of Ajahn Brahms.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. It's really cute.
I think it's
With
pretty accessible. I think it's a beneficial way of looking at things and considering what is it like to be so content. How does that work? Yeah, thank you, Tina.
I wanted to ask you too, I if I think I suspect all things in the material world are born and die, and I use that word loosely, like
It comes,
anything
yeah.
is so right. I think there's nothing that, I mean, everything is actually conditioned, you know, rocks and everything here, the wind and the stars, whatever, everything. And it goes, everything is going to, it comes in and it goes out, friends. So this is to see it like that cup, you know, Ajahn Chah talks about, you know, it's already broken. So we can see it takes it's very subtle to see this that's why we have to train. It's not obvious for some reason. Thankfully the Buddha found the path to like you're saying, to see. That's why we meditate, you know, to see reality the way it is. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For that reminder.
Thank you, Jenny. Joyce? Joyce? Oh.
She's muted.
Did you decide not to talk, or are you looking for your way in? Okay. There you go.
Okay. I almost turned the video off. Okay, mine is actually similar to what I think it was Kema just said. I've never understood the use of the word deathless in Buddhist practice because it's really rarely actually explained. So what I'm getting now is that there's no death because it's all process. Am I close to understanding that?
There's no death in Nibbana. There's no death when we get beyond the processes. Process is all about conditionality, and the deathless is the unconditioned. So that is the striking difference. And you can use the word deathless and you can use the word Nibbana interchangeably. It's another way of saying Nibbana. So it's not conditioned. Yeah, Carrie?
So thanks, Joyce, for bringing that up. So the way I've been interpreting deathless is that we're constantly having this rebirth process. And, you know, every few minutes we're like reborn on the wheel of samsara. I think that's the right term. We're constantly doing these, you know, doing stuff to ourselves, making ourselves suffer, and we have a moment of peace, and then we're like reborn back into the suffering. So for me, I often think of the deathless as getting beyond that cycle that we tend to do, so that we stop having this constant rebirth into suffering.
It is beyond the cycle. It is Nibbana. Beyond the cycle. And how do we get out of the cycle? It's through that transcendent change. So instead of when we come to the sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair, when we're in the dukkha, instead of taking another turn around the wheel, we experience faith.
We experience, say that word again.
Faith.
Faith.
If you look at the Upanisa Sutta, it's the transcendent chain of dependent origination. And then from faith, there's joy, pamoja. And then there's maybe let's see, I should know this, but you walk up this experience of piti and sukha and passaddhi, which is tranquility, onto samadhi. And from samadhi, we have the knowledge and vision of the way things actually are. And that's when you start to move deeper into insight and letting go of our attachments. So it's like, yes, we're on this cycle, this chain of dependent origination going round and round, you might say, whether it's in the moment or it's in a lifetime or whatever. And then to step out of it. Sometimes the stepping out point is virtue, sometimes it's faith, sometimes it's learning, sometimes it's wisdom, sometimes it's generosity. But it's carrying us on a different track that moves to samadhi and wisdom, insight. Yeah. I think we're gonna end here for the day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.